What's up, guys? Welcome back to Brain Gains. It's currently Friday afternoon right now, around 1:30. I'm going to be going to the rec here in about 30 minutes with Anna around 2 because she's busier later in the day, so I got to go earlier now. And so yeah, I'm just going to be doing the usual shoulders, abs, lower back, and a bit of legs. Yesterday, Thursday, was rest day as usual for me. I took a test, took a quiz, and then chilled out the rest of the day, watched YouTube, and started watching Ponyo. Today's video topic is going to kind of be related to yesterday's video about dealing with soreness, and I talked about stretching in that. And so today's video is just talking about stretching in general, and how much is enough. And this is pretty much just my opinion. And another thing I talked about in the video, I guess starting out, was I'm going to start stretching each day, probably when I wake up. Today I did it just a bit before this video, and I was trying out some new stuff, I guess, just experimenting and just feeling around as I was stretching to see what muscles are being pulled and stretched, and just going from there. But I feel like that's something important to do. It's not necessarily speaking, that makes sense, but I feel like stretching is definitely necessary whenever you do any amount of physical activity. Going out for a jog, run, bike, weightlifting, or just doing body weight workouts, you need to stretch, because not only are you stretching for flexibility, you're stretching for warming up your muscles into where your muscles are prepared for the weight or the strain you're about to put on them. Whether you do static stretches, which are just like where when you're stretching you're not moving around, like touching your toes, or doing like pulling your leg behind your butt and just holding it there, that's like a static stretching, versus kinetic or moving stretches to where you're doing like high kicks or butt kicks, and you're moving as you're stretching, and that's your stretching. While that is a bit more, I guess, intense in your body because you're moving it around as you're stretching, I feel like that's better to some extent, especially for running, because that's actually what we did in track. We would start with those stretches to get our body warmed up, to get used to the movement, and then we would end with static stretches where we'd sit down on the turf in the middle of the track and do still stretches where we just held a position for a certain amount of time. But before any activity, you need to do some stretching, and if you want to go beyond that, do stretching in your home, when you wake up before you go to bed, because like I said, well, in that case, when you do it at home away from workout, you're not really working towards warming up your muscles, you're working on flexibility, rather than when you're about to work out, you're not really working on flexibility much, but more of just warming up your muscles. Also, being at home stretching works on somewhat recovery, as far as stretching out your tired muscles. If you just did a workout or are sore from a workout a couple of days before, it's something to help your muscles recover and get them back into shape faster. But like I said, I think a decent amount of stretching is before any strenuous activity, and if you want to go beyond that, do a little bit more stretching and work on flexibility, because that's always important. Do it before you go to bed or right when you wake up. A little side note, I remember I'd seen a picture of it, but there's always a misconception that like super muscular people, like the Mr. Olympia competitors, aren't very flexible. But if you go on YouTube and look up 2003 Ronnie Coleman Olympia, he actually does almost a full split. And this guy has won multiple Olympias. I don't know if he won it that year, but I think he has one of the highest counts of Mr. Olympia wins. And if a guy of his mass and his size and his muscle structure can do the splits, I think it's something attainable for everybody to do, as long as you don't have any really bad leg problems. But like I said, I think there's a big misconception about muscle mass and being able to be flexible, but Ronnie Coleman kind of disproved that to some extent when he's able to do the splits at his size. But as a little side note, go check it out if you want. I think it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I guess to sum it up, stretch before you work out or do any activity to make sure you don't pull any muscle, injure any muscle. And if you want, do stretching beyond that to improve your flexibility, which is also always a nice thing to have, in my opinion. That's gonna be the video. It's gonna be a longer one, but whatever, it's fine. That's gonna be the video. So hopefully with COVID, all wearing a mask out in public and around people. If you could like the video, really appreciate it. If you could subscribe to the channel, also really appreciate that. And I'll catch y'all next time. So adios.